You don't know the power of the dark side.
What's going on, guys? Back with another video, another episode of Read It or Skip It. Today's book in particular is going to be Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. And if you know anything about Star Wars and Star Wars books, you know how renowned this book is, and there's a reason for that. It makes the prequels that much better. It tells you all the backstory and the planning that led up to the events, which we saw in episode 1, 2, and 3. I'll let you guys know when I kind of get to some spoiler areas as to not ruin it for you. But pretty much we start off 60 to 70 years before Battle of Yavin. So way before the events of the prequels. And we see Plagueis with his former master, Darth Tenebris. And they're doing their part of the scheme, and inevitably something happens and we're left with just Plagueis because he has to find Sidious. We see their early stages of planning for the Sith Grand Plan. Things change, and Plagueis is stuck being the Dark Lord of the Sith. He needs an apprentice. That's when he finds Palpatine, 17 years old, on Naboo. And what's weird is he doesn't know for sure if he has the Force, because Palpatine has this innate ability to mask his Force presence. They end up meeting each other. They kind of work together to help build up the Naboo hierarchy and set everything up for what's going to happen. It isn't until later on that Plagueis learns of what Sidious is, what Palpatine is, and he realizes that the Force let these things happen the way they did. There are a couple time jumps. The book ends pretty much with the events of episode 1. So we get a lot of Plagueis, then we get Plagueis and Palpatine when Palpatine's younger. Then we get a lot more focus on Palpatine because Plagueis is kind of in the background working on his side of the things, and that is manipulating the midichlorians. I can't really sit here and give you a summary of this book because there is just so much that goes on in this book. It's a rather large book. It's like 500 pages almost. So there is just so much dialogue and so much lore talked about with the Sith Grand Plan, midichlorians, and this book delves into the dark side unlike any other book I've read. Yes, the Darth Bane trilogy does that as well, and this references that. But just like I said, this sets up the prequels and Palpatine's plan so well. It's such a great companion to those films that if you kind of have some misunderstandings or don't really think that the plan in which we saw in the films was that good, this book really fleshes it out for you. To get into some spoilers and some parts in which I really liked. So, heads up. After Plagueis kills his master, he finds out that his master had backup apprentices, backup plans, in case Plagueis wasn't what he wanted him to be. So he's hunting down these ex-apprentices, and one of them is an Iktachi, and that is the same species as Saesee-Tin. So if you know the lore behind them, they kind of have an innate Force sensitivity and precognition. So he's hunting down this Iktachi woman, and she's almost doing this weird cult-like Jim Jones-esque, come with me, I can show you the way. She's honestly, I think she kind of knew what was going to happen just because of her abilities. But she has all these followers and this and that, and she's making herself out to be this all-knowing person. Well, Plagueis goes to this gathering or whatever, and he speaks to her, and she's like, "You're him." "You're the one." She recognizes him through the Force or through her visions or whatever, and she's taking everybody's hand and I guess doing something to them and enlightening them with her Force sensitivity. Well, Plagueis comes up and he takes her hand, and this is in front of everybody, and he uses Force lightning to cook her from the inside out. And it goes into crazy detail about being able to see the lightning flicker in her eyes and then her hands were getting hot, and then she just collapses, and everybody's like, "What happened? What happened?" And like it's like she fainted or whatever, and then he gets out of there, and it was just, I know it's kind of like grotesque, but it's just really cool to see such a vicious but yet unique way for somebody to die with, dark side abilities. Judging by the back of it, you can tell that it's got Darth Maul in it, so we see kind of how he plays into the bigger picture and Plagueis's sort of acceptance of him. But he told Palpatine, "Don't train him to be a true Sith," because according to Plagueis and Palpatine, he wasn't going to be. But I think Palpatine had other plans. I could sit here and talk about this book forever and go on and talk in circles because there's just so much to love about it. So I would say, if you love the prequels and you want to hear the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, by all means, you should read this book. Now, I will warn you, I read this early on in my book reading journey, and it is I would say it's very mature in terms of James Luceno's style of writing. So there are a lot of words that you have to kind of use your context clues and hell, pick up a thesaurus and try to figure out what they mean, because this book is very sophisticated in terms of a Star Wars book. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, 10 out of 10 all day. This is up there and probably my top 10 favorite books. I would say top 5, but a couple of my favorite books are trilogies. So this is a must read. It's honestly a good place to start. People kind of debate where a good place to pick up in the Star Wars universe is, because the split in which we have expanding universe and canon. Some people say start with Heir to the Empire. I would say that's a good starting point, but any of these, I would say one-off books, but any of these one-off books are a good place to start. Now, there are a couple tie-in books to this, like Cloak of Deception, Darth Maul Shadowhunter, and Darth Maul Lockdown. They all kind of take place within the same time period, and there are just some little Easter eggs here and there that you will pick up referenced in books here and there. But overall, yeah, this is arguably one of the best Star Wars novels, and people say that for a reason. It's great. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, check out more videos. We'll see you in the next one.